Hi guys, welcome to the Asylum, the first real proper live episode with a guest. Yeah, there's our special guest. It's Rob
Hey!
from Prodos Games. How you doing, Rob?
I'm not too bad. I'm all good.
Good.
Yeah.
Also joining me, I have got Matt. Hi, Matt.
Hi, Steve. Hi, guys.
I've also got James,
You alright, people? How you doing?
and also joined by a special guest of Chris.
Hello, everybody.
So, how are we all doing today on this
Very
lovely
good.
summer's day?
Not too bad, a bit burnt, but not too bad.
Yeah, way
Then,
too hot today.
It's alright for some, innit? Some of us have been stuck in work all day.
Yeah, I've been stuck in a cave all day, so...
I have been working, but it's just been outside, so, I can't complain.
We're not allowed outside.
Cool.
Yeah, but you've got a good job, so you don't really count, Rob.
Wow.
Yeah.
People with awesome jobs don't apply.
Right, so Rob is here from Prodos Games to talk about Warzone.
That's right.
So we did an interview at the Games Expo.
Yep.
Unfortunately, the audio wasn't fantastic. So just to quickly go back over it, can you just give us a quick rundown of what Warzone entails and the basics?
Okay, so Warzone is a 32mm scale science fiction skirmish mass battle war game. It uses between 20 to 40 miniatures at most per side per game. It's played on a 4x4 or a 6x4 tabletop wargame style board, and uses a set of rules that are D20 based and use cards and dice to play the game. It's from a setting called Mutant Chronicles, which was very popular in the 90s, and we've basically brought it back and made an entire new range of new miniatures and developed the rules to be a bit more up to date and current, really. That's Warzone as an overview.
An overview. Obviously, we've looked in a bit into it.
Yeah.
There's factions. Seven factions.
Yeah.
Obviously, not looked in it hard enough. So, where is it really set? Because you've got the cybernetic kind of people. You've got some steampunk. So is it a genre, or is it just different planets or time zones?
It's all it's all in one time zone. So it's set, I think it's something like the 25th century. I know someone who's a big fan of Warzone will get me wrong on that. I'd have to look at the timeline to remember.
We're just getting spammed by nerds at the bottom now. It's like, you got it wrong.
It will happen, genuinely. And the idea is that you've got lots of corporations all fighting with each other over the various planets in our solar system. So it's set in our solar system. There's no nations anymore. All the nations have been overtaken by corporations that bought everything out. They've used up the world's resources, so they've fled the Earth before it basically becomes a nuclear wasteland, and gone off into the solar system. And in doing so, being greedy and digging ever deeper into the various planets, discovered the Dark Legion, which are the kind of zombie, mutant, demon faction. They're the big bad guys. So you've got the corporations there, and you've got the big bad guys, the Dark Legion. And then you've got Brotherhood, who are trying to unite humanity against Dark Legion, but always failing to do so. So that's why you've got so many factions that are all so different. Dark Legion affects technology as well, so that's why there's only one kind of cybernetic faction. They somehow get past the fact that Dark Legion can intercept a lot of technology there. So that's why all the other ones are a bit more diesel punk.
Because you have got the Imperials, and I'm not going to even try and pronounce the other one. Bauhaus?
Bauhaus. Or Bauhaus. I've actually heard people calling them Bauhaus, which was... Or Brewhouse. Brewhouse was the most recent one.
Is that German? Bauhaus?
Yeah.
Then it would be pronounced Bauhaus as in the German art school. Bauhaus.
Yeah. Modern
That's
art
it.
movement,
Yeah.
So basically, those are like the steampunk World War One. Obviously, Imperials being England and the Bauhaus being the Germans.
Yeah,
Those,
that's essentially it.
Yeah, those are my two favourite factions.
Me too, actually. Personally, I've got a big Bauhaus army. I do like myself a spiky helmet.
Yep. So have you guys got any questions?
Well, questions that I would like to ask. Oh, go on, Matt. Go on.
I was just going to ask, so what would you need as a complete newbie to the game to start playing? What would be your hand in your pocket kind of prices, and what's your minimum army?
In terms of product you would need a starter box for yourself, starter box for an opponent, unless they have one themselves, and a rule book. And that is literally everything you need to play, and it's everything you need to play an actual enjoyable game, not just a game. That's £35 for each starter box, and then £35 for the rule book. The rule book's a hardcover, full colour book there too. So, yeah, entry level, 70 quid to get yourself going. If you're wanting to pay for your mate as well, 105.
What's the average game length of a starter box battle game? What is that, like a 2-hour game, or is it a little longer?
Starter box versus starter box, you're looking at about 500 or 600 points, which would be about an hour's gameplay, really. It's quite a fast-paced game, and it also depends on how much scenery you use. It's a game that, if you want the game to take longer, well, it's designed to use scenery, really. If you don't use any scenery, it's going to be pretty brutal. It's not a case of I walk out and die, but it's like some other very popular sci-fi games. It's more of a... It just balances things a bit more if you use a bit of scenery there.
That's cool.
So lots of trees, James.
Lots of trees.
Yes, lots of trees. I don't mind forests, right? It's just trees.
Doing a bit of a plug, I found this from the Mantic Battle Zones.
Yep.
I'm going to use a lot of this for some terrain. I thought this fit really well because I saw a couple of bits that I thought was Mantic on the Game Expo Day.
Yep.
Yeah, was that right?
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. We love the Mantic scenery and we're using a lot of it. They've been really kind to supply us with some and allow us to use some of our tournaments. We've actually got a tournament in Leamington Spa on the 25th of August, which we're going to start releasing tickets for very soon. And that is going to be for the most part, Mantic scenery, because they've been kind to supply us, and we've supplied the local club who are going to be running the tournament for us.
That's quite good. Also, just touching on what you have to do to play or what you have to have. Are you thinking of doing a 2-player battle set? Like you have one from like the Warhammer, Hawk Wargames.
We threw around the idea. Our issue with it is we love all the factions and we wouldn't know which factions to put in it. We quite like being able to let people choose, but obviously we're doing a kind of big box for AVP that will kind of represent that. Maybe we could look at doing something for Warzone, but we've got no immediate plans to do it.
Yeah, because you kind of like then setting up like a flagship factions when you start doing like big boxes like that. Yeah,
you'd end up with, I don't know, for example, Imperial and Cybertronic being massively popular, and the other ones are kind of get left behind. And we kind of like the idea of having everything in an equal.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Presence, but we are going to make a kind of box like that, but they're going to be just for the retail stores as demo kits that we're going to start sending out to retailers to use. And maybe if that's popular enough, we'll start thinking about doing a 2-player battle box.
Yeah, that's cool.
We're always open.
So in talking about the factions and how they play, what are like the cities and strengths of the factions? Because that seems to be something that is within like every single game. Like most factions have a synergy and strength to them.
Yeah. Synergy is the massive theme within Warzone, so you can really personalise your army. And I won't go through every single one, but they all have their own way of being individualised. So Bauhaus, for example, every single squad can be upgraded with a specific type of training that gives it a different ability from normal. So depending on what type of warlord you take. So there's 4 different types of warlord in the game. There's psychic, close combat, tech, and ranged. And depending on which one you take, there's a variety of upgrades you can use on all of your units, your powerhouse army. Same goes for Imperial. There's medals that you can take that work in a slightly different way. Cybertronic have got enhancements that work in a different way. Mishima have got key powers, which are kind of like psychic powers that every squad can use. Every faction's got its own way of being tailored to the player based on what the player chooses in the army. And also, I mean, every army has its synergy. So, yeah, based on what you take in it, and it will play in a very different way based on what you take. But the good thing about Warzone is everything has been designed to have a purpose. You know, it's not. You won't come across a unit that you regret using or buying. You'll be able to use it in one way or another and change it slightly to fit your purposes a bit better. So you might just change it slightly between games.
Alright.
Is that sort of what you were looking for? Or
Yeah. We've got a few questions from the squad.
Okay.
It's kind of spammed. We're not even going to get into the shoulder pads.
Oh, God.
Just you wait, squad.
We love some shoulder pads.
We do like shoulder pads.
What are the models made out of?
It's polyurethane liquid plastic that we use, which in terms of industry terms is resin. It's a similar sort of resin to anyone else is using in the industry, hard resin. So the big company that's out there that's making lots of money and has lots of shops on the high street, they use a very similar material to us. But we're using one that we've developed so that it avoids air bubbles, it avoids mold lines and things like that. So if you do find air bubbles on our models, they shouldn't be there, and you can send us an email and we'll send a replacement, as long as you've got the photos of it.
We will send you an email explaining how angry we are.
That's fine. Yeah. I mean, you saw the stuff at the show. You know it's good quality. Yeah.
Also, he asks, will AV be available to the public?
Absolutely. It's going to go up for pre-order very, very soon in limited numbers, just because we don't want to get overwhelmed in terms of how many we sell, because we're expecting it to be quite popular, because we need to keep up with demand. We're going to make sure the Kickstarter stuff ships out first. That's going to be shipping out in the next sort of 2 months. We'll have an update hopefully over the next couple of days. There should be one tonight, but it might come out tomorrow on the Kickstarter, and that'll explain a bit more about where we are. And then in retail, it will definitely be in stores in time for Christmas, if not slightly before that, which would be even better.
Mm.
That'd be a pretty cool Christmas present.
Yep. Does anyone else have questions?
I'd like to ask about the game mechanics of Warzone. So is it sort of you go, I go, or turn-based, or what's the playstyle like?
Okay, so the idea of it is I activate a squad, then I activate a model in the squad. Once that model is activated, I activate the next model in the squad. So you activate a full squad, each model in the squad can act in its own way. So one can stay back and give covering fire whilst the rest run along the battlefield, charge into combat. So you can really perform with your squad in a variety of ways. They can shoot at different targets. Once I finish activating all the models in my squad, you then activate one of your squads and do the same, and then it goes back to me. So it's I go, you go, but it's per squad at a time, rather than I move my whole army, kill you all, and then you activate what's left of your army and kill 2 of my models, and then I win.
See, that's really unique, isn't it? Because normally if you activate a squad, they've all got to shoot at the same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And we've been working with people who actually have been in combat, and they said that's ridiculous. When that's the thing that annoys them most about most miniature games, is that you have your one valiant warrior who's 8 foot tall, in power armor, carrying a rocket launcher. He has to fire at a rhinoceros assault vehicle, and the rest of the squad with their bolt throwers have to shoot the same thing when they can't damage it. It doesn't make sense.
It could be less bullets from the Emperor. You never know.
So yeah, that's why we've kind of gone for it in that way. And in the same sense, we've tried to develop the game so there's never a moment where you physically can't win. There might be one where the odds are really against you, but even if you've only got rifles or pistols left and your opponent's charging around with a tank, you can still destroy it with those, but the odds are incredibly against you. So I've even had a dog in the game chewing off the leg of a walker in close combat. It's a bit of fun.
Send us a picture of that dog. I want to see how big that mouth is.
Yeah.
Would you say it's quite objective based, or is it more sort of kill your opponent?
Oh, it's definitely objective based. So before each game, you roll for your mission to see whether you're playing with a primary mission on its own, primary and secondary, or primary and corporate agenda, which is a kind of third level mission. The primary mission you'll both share. The secondary mission you each have a different one, I believe, and then the corporate agenda one, it is my secret objective that neither of us know about, and we each have one. So it is definitely mission based, but there is an element of you do kind of have to kill your opponent. But there are some missions where killing your opponent will do you a disservice, because you might want to avoid killing a particular unit because it's valuable to you, or you might want to capture a certain character, you might want to kill a certain character. It can be very objective in that way.
So the game uses D20s.
Yes.
How does the dice system work?
Okay, so it's a very simple roll-under system. So for each, let's say you're doing a shooting action. Shooting action, you look at what your character's range skill is, and you have to roll under that number on a D20. So the average range skill for most things is 12. So they've got a 60% chance of hitting. You might have some modifiers based on the scenery on the board. So light terrain is -2, heavy terrain is -4. So that literally adjusts your stat line in that. So it'll go down to 10 or 8, and then you roll to hit. If you get an 8 or less, or a 12 or less in that instance, then you hit. And your opponent takes an armor test. They look at their armor value minus their strength modifier of your weapon and roll under that number. So it's a very simple system. D20 was chosen not only because it used to exist in Warzone, but because we think it offers a wider amount of variables in the game. So it's not everything is wounded on a 4 or more on a 6-sided dice. It's something might be killed on 12, 8, 14, 16, whatever, you know.
Just to keep it interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And it also means the people that say they always lose games because they roll low, they love it.
Yeah, so I am going to win.
Double one!
A 1 is a critical hit in this game, but a 20 is a critical fail, so...
So like people have to try to on-microwave their dice in this game. Like the defrost setting or something,
smashing them from out of the freezer, yeah.
Matt, have you got any more questions on your list?
Yeah. Will you be bringing out a henchman scheme where people who want to teach other players the rules will get rewarded for their time in teaching new players?
Absolutely. So I'm actually in the process of, literally tomorrow, I'm writing the application form for our Crusaders program, where people will be, obviously, they'll get rewards and credit and stuff like that for their time, as long as they agree the events and the shows with us and follow our guidelines, basically. All that stuff is going to be available from tomorrow, hopefully, and it will be posted on our Facebook page, so the Prodos Games Facebook page, the Warzone Mutant Chronicles group, onto Bell of Lost Souls GameWire, anywhere where you would normally find news about Prodos Games, it will be in those portals.
Yeah, it's alright, we'll have it on our page as well.
That would be awesome. Cheers, guys.
Also, all the links to everything Rob needs you to know and talk about what we've been talking about will be in the description.
Oh, cool. Brilliant.
Yeah. So if you want to send me those after the show, I'll get them in there for you.
That's fine. That's cool.
Andy 2D6, funny Any plans for Andy versus Predator? A spin-off game featuring a sculpt of him taking on an army of predators.
No, but it's certainly sparking things off.
God.
I'll tell you what you could do, actually. It's a shame you missed out on the Kickstarter, because one of the pledge levels allowed you to have 100 of your own face made. You could stick on whatever models you wanted. So my answer to his question is yes, but it's his fault we're not making it.
See, if I was to touch that Kickstarter and I put ET's my face, would you make loads of ET's as a proper Alien versus Predator?
Oh dear. So getting back to seriousness. Jesus Christ.
Sorry.
We've got to have a level of humour on it.
Oh, of course.
So what next big event are you attending with Warzone? Like, have you got another expo coming up?
Yeah, so we've got quite a few. We've got Valhalla, which is this weekend in Farnborough. We're just there with a trade stand and hopefully a demo table, but we'll see when we get there, unfortunately. We were a bit late in getting to that one. Then we've got, let me have a look actually, it's probably the easiest way, but we've got QCon following that one, which is in Belfast. That one's going to be a really big show for us. Yep, that is the week after. Then we're going down to Battle Group South in Dorset, and then we've got loads of shows coming up over the next few months, but this month we are going to Valhalla, QCon, and Battle Group South.
Ah, interesting. So anyone wanting to have a look at Prodos and their wares, you know where to go.
Absolutely, yeah, and obviously we're hitting more retail stores as well, so part of my job is actually talking to retailers, asking what they need us to provide, and I physically go to stores as well if they need me to, or if they want me to even, and I'll run demos of Warzone all day.
Ah, cool.
I've got another question. We've obviously talked a lot about the UK market. Is this going to be released worldwide, or first of all over in America? Any plans for that?
Absolutely. We actually, so I'm head of sales for UK and essentially the rest of the world that isn't America, and Canada and South America. We've got a guy called Jim Vidlak who is head of sales in America and North America, South America, the whole Americas region. I'm currently talking to stores in Australia. We've got stores set up in Spain, Italy, Germany, Poland, UK, Czech Republic. Russia is knocking on the door at the moment to find out. Sweden, we've got a big market in Sweden, and obviously in the UK. And we're just starting to talk to some guys in Ireland as well, but QCon is hopefully going to help us out there. I know it's Northern Ireland, but I'm hoping some people will travel up. But we'll see. I mean, it's about communicating and networking, so whenever I get an opportunity to talk to someone, I do.
Oh.
Awesome.
The pleasures of networking.
Yeah.
I've got one relating to the terrain. Will you be bringing out your own kind of terrain eventually, or are you just sticking to purely models and game creation?
It's really funny. We actually had a meeting the other day about making scenery. So we're going to look into making some smaller resin pieces of scenery to support our ranges, both ranges. So they'll be our own product that can be used in any game. For AVP, we do actually have a set of resin terrain tiles that is coming out that are literally 3D versions of the board game tiles from the box set. I think they retail at £140 a set. That was on the web. That was on the Kickstarter anyway. So the price may change when it hits retail, because obviously Kickstarter is always discounted a little bit there. But yeah, so it's definitely something we're going to look at.
Interesting. So speaking on AVP lightly.
Yeah, you can. It's cool.
Yeah. Obviously, we've got a video coming up of sneak peek AVP models.
Yes.
But is there? Can you go into how? Sorry.
It's fine.
what's next for AVP?
What's next for AVP? Um,
Just because we did cover it in the interview, but the sound isn't that great, so I'm kind of...
Right, yes you did, yeah. Okay, so what's next for AVP? We know for definite that we have a plan to release a big thing at Salute down in London in April next year. Obviously we've got to make sure this gets to retail first, the whole shebang, so everything that came out on Kickstarter is going to be hitting retail at the same time. It's not going to be staggered release, it's just going to be bang, there it all is, have fun. And we'll release a few things up until April, maybe, and then in April, bang, another big expansion release for AVP, for the board game and the war game. It's really going to expand part of it that I think people are going to enjoy. I can't really talk about it because none of it's been approved yet, but as soon as it is, we'll start mentioning.
Yeah, but at least we know there's something else coming for AVP, which is...
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we want to have it sustained. We want to make sure it sustains the product line, and it's not just dead in the water after we finish Kickstarter, because that's a bit lame.
Yeah. Will the expansion be kickstarted or just straight out to retail?
I don't know at this stage. I don't know at this stage. We'll see.
Ooh, secrets.
Yeah. I genuinely, I don't know. I would presume probably straight to retail, but it could be kickstarted. Things change. I mean, Salute is 9 months away, 10 months away. It's a long way for us anyway. It's quite a long way. Our lead times are normally like 2 weeks.
A lot can happen.
New releases anyway, but for that it won't be. It'll be longer because.
Well, there'll be a squad of us going down there armed with cameras and microphones, so we'll be getting an interview off you lot.
Awesome. I'll be ready and waiting.
Exclusive interview.
Exclusive interview.
Yeah, you can't talk to
so
anyone
does that
else.
mean you're only going to interview me?
No, it means you can't talk to anyone else apart from us.
No. Yeah.
Is there anything you'd like to add? I know you've got to get going soon.
I don't know. Just that we're always open to hearing from our fans and from people who are just interested in the product lines as well. So do get involved. Feel free to come onto our Facebook pages, onto our forums, start chatting. We don't check our forum as much as we should, but we do every so often. So we do listen to our guys, and we do make changes on our products based on what people have to say. So don't be scared to recommend something, suggest a product you'd like to see, a particular predator you'd like to see, as has happened before, or just anything. We're open. Send an email, and it will get forwarded to me, and I'll answer it, and we'll have a chat. That's what it's all about.
Certainly have. Well, let's tie up the show then, because I don't want to keep you too long.
No, that's all right.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
I'm glad I managed to get on.
Yeah, we had a bit of technical difficulties, but you weren't the only one. Trust me. I was actually pulling out my own hair. This is a wig.
Yeah, I'm currently pulling out my hair. So there we go.
I'm covering my hair. Yeah.
Yeah, you're covering yours. I used to do that. That's why that's happened.
Oh well. Take off your hat. All right then, guys. Well, just a few plugs that I want to give out. Obviously, we're going to get heavily involved with Warzone. We've got a couple of factions coming. We've got terrain. We've got a board. We're going to have battle reports, reviews, painting, and I've asked Chris very nicely if he'll do a couple of painting tutorials.
Ooh.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, jump on that.
That's wicked.
Chris is from Legion Art Studios. Legion Paint Studios.
Legion Painting Studios, yeah, you got it.
Right, first time. Second. So he's going to do that. The links to everyone that's in there will be in the description down below. Hopefully we're going to do a couple more of these.
Yep.
Like later on in the day, and obviously touching on AVP. So I'd like to thank everyone for joining. We've had quite a successful audience, actually.
Good.
So yeah, thank you for everyone turning up to the first show. I'd like to thank people that have come on to help me.
Thanks very much.
And Rob, it's always been a pleasure.
As always,
Indeed.
mate. And I'll be talking to you shortly. I'm sure.
Yeah, you will be. Don't you worry, Pet. All right then, guys. Well, we'll catch you later.
Thanks very much.
See you later, guys.